They spied on my campaign.
Well, there's no real evidence of that.
Of course there is.
No.
It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes. And we can't put on things we can't verify.
Every intelligence professional I've been talking to, Mika, says this is a Russian intelligence disinformation campaign.
That is Russian
disinformation.
misinformation.
He wasn't given tens of millions of dollars. That is totally, discredited.
We've already been
totally discredited.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial subjects.
Ah, yes, more substantial things. Caught in a cover-up. A few examples of the media unwilling to seek the truth and follow the truth wherever it may lead, dismissing the massive influence peddling story of Hunter Biden and the millions that he and his family has taken in from foreign officials while his father was sitting vice president. All in plain sight on Hunter's laptop before the 2020 election, something we have been telling you about for a year and a half. The New York Post, of course, broke the story of the laptop back in October of 2020, and the media dismissed it as Russian disinformation. And even as some have now been forced to report on this story, most still will not implicate Joe Biden, despite the fact that it was the Vice President Biden's time that Hunter's clients were paying for. Joining me right now are two of the journalists who cracked open the Hunter Biden influence peddling case. They cracked it open, and they are here with us today. Peter Schweizer is the author of Red-Handed, How American Elites Get Rich Helping China Win. Miranda Devine is a Fox News contributor and author of The Laptop from Hell, Hunter Biden, Big Tech, and the Dirty Secrets the President Tried to Hide. Both books are must-reads. Good morning to you both. Thank you so much for being here.
Good to be here.
Morning, Maria.
Miranda, let me kick it off with you. We've got a December 2020 subpoena from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware requesting documents, emails, communications created for Hunter Biden. Tell us where you believe this is at this point, the reaction to the Federal Reserve, the Federals investigating Hunter's tax and the subpoenas.
Well, it seems that the grand jury in Delaware is making good progress. They've been interviewing Hunter Biden's business partners and also his former lovers. And they're also, most intriguingly, asking witnesses the question, who is the big guy? And we know from Tony Bobulinski, one of Hunter's business partners, that the big guy is Joe Biden. And what that shows you is that this grand jury, this investigation in Delaware, is pulling on the threads that lead through Hunter Biden's overseas business dealings directly to Joe Biden.
I think that's right. I think, Maria, it's very important what Miranda highlights. This started out as a Hunter Biden story. It's now a Joe Biden story. He's at the center of it. He's the planet around which the moons in the family, Hunter Biden and James Biden, revolve. My only concern is the issue of statute of limitations. Remember, this grand jury was convened in 2018. When COVID happened, they stepped aside and did not meet, so they lost about a year and a half. So hopefully we're going to hear something from the grand jury very soon. I don't know if Miranda shares this opinion, but I think they've got him dead to rights on tax evasion, and I think the money laundering and other charges are equally very troublesome from Team Biden. And their nightmare scenario is that there's a trial. They want a deal, even if Hunter goes to jail for a little bit. They do not want a trial because that will highlight the role that Joe Biden played in all of this.
Yeah, but you just heard John Ratcliffe talking about the U.S. attorney needs to get the go-ahead from Merrick Garland, Miranda. What about that? I mean, you both mined this laptop. How would the White House handle this?
Look, I mean, I think Merrick Garland was burned last year when there was that scandal over the Justice Department sicking the FBI onto parents at school board meetings. I believe that he has just no appetite to ruin his reputation further by being seen to be covering up for the Biden family. So he will just let this run, let justice take its course. And as Peter just said, I think the tax evasion seems to be what is most exercising the Hunter Biden camp, and he has already borrowed $1 million. I'm told actually it's more than that, maybe double or more, that from a very generous Californian benefactor to repay overdue taxes. But his defence is going to be, well, look, you know, I was a drug addict at the time. I really didn't know what I was doing, but now I'm come to my senses. I'm clean and I'm trying to make amends. And he's opening his kimono, his friends say, to the investigators on all this IRS investigation.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, Maria, to that, and I think Miranda's exactly right, is we have in the background of all of this the simple fact that, you know, the Democratic establishment to a certain extent seems to be turning on Joe Biden. I think it's a reflection on his low poll numbers, the fact that he's dragging down the ticket, and we want to believe that these decisions about American justice and the role of the Attorney General is going to be made on the merits of the law. But Joe Biden is not, you know, the rock star of the Democratic Party right now, and I'm sure there are certain elements that would just as soon that he leave the stage at some point, even if that leads us with the vice president in charge.
Peter, you also cite multiple instances of Joe having off-the-books meetings with Chinese officials in Obama's White House. Tell me more about that, because the Secret Service claims that they have no records of anybody who visits Biden in Delaware. Could this be possible?
Oh, yeah, no, it could be possible in the sense that they don't catalog it as they should. But no, it's very clear. I mean, there were in the laptop and in the other email collections we have from Bevan Cooney and others, I believe Miranda has that collection as well, instances where Chinese officials, this includes CCP officials and businessmen, came to the White House in 2011, and they appear in the White House visitors logs meeting with certain officials. But there's no mention of a meeting with Vice President Joe Biden. But if you go back and look at their social media and some of their web statements, they indicate that they did, in fact, meet with Vice President Joe Biden at that time. And when you trace it back, you see that there was a meeting that was on the official White House visitors log in one room, and Joe Biden's office was next door. To me, this is extremely troubling, of course, because what it means is they're trying to conceal who Joe Biden is actually meeting with. And there are other examples that Miranda has cited from Ukraine and Kazakhstan. And so this is a pattern. When political figures are trying to hide who they're meeting with, especially when those officials are business partners or prospective business partners of their family members, that to me is hugely important evidence to show what's really going on in this scheme.
Miranda.
Absolutely. Peter's spot on. It's the secrecy, really, and the cover-up and the denials that tells you a lot about what Joe Biden was up to and his involvement in his family's influence peddling scheme. He was knowingly the product and intimately involved. And we see that in, I mean, we just uncovered on the weekend this story about the 19 times that Hunter Biden's business partner, Eric Schwerin, went to the White House and met with assistants of Joe Biden and Jill Biden, and met Joe Biden once, at least, that we know of. And, you know, Eric Schwerin was the president of Rosemont Seneca, Hunter Biden's business, but you can see it was a family business because he had signature privileges for Joe Biden. He ran a big bank account for Joe Biden.
Peter, I know you're working on a major scoop next week about the Commerce Department, right? And its entanglement with China.
Yep, that's exactly right. The Commerce Secretary and other officials.